Happy Wealth Wednesday. Jackie, so excited to have you here. Everything that you've been building with Valora through Cello is super exciting and really cutting edge. And so really looking forward to diving in with you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I'd love if you would give us a quick intro about you and what you're up to.
Yeah, so I am the CEO of Valora, and we are basically an easy to use mobile crypto wallet. And our mission is really to make crypto accessible and usable for the everyday person. And by doing that, unlocking financial opportunity so you can create and share value without barriers.
Exciting. And do you remember what your first ever investment was, or what got you, like what or who got you started?
Oh, I mean, it's tough because I didn't come from a family that ever invested, or my parents and I, we immigrated from the Philippines when I was 5, and it was always about saving and not taking many risks. And so with investing, it's like you do have to take a little bit of risk to get rewards, and usually it's kind of outsized by that, but and so that wasn't really ingrained in my DNA. What I was lucky to get into was just to work in tech very early in my career. And with that, getting, stock and RSUs in the companies that I would work for. And so as I was kind of accumulating, stocks from companies like Google and Twitter, I kind of still had that mentality of like holding, and kind of like saving things up. And for sometimes it worked out really well, right? Where like stocks would go up and sometimes like they would split and, it'd be great. But at the same time, I wasn't really leveraging the equity that I had. And so it really wasn't until I was really thinking about like my next step, and I was like, oh, should I go to business school or whatnot? I listened to this podcast from Tim Ferriss one year, and he was basically talking about like his own journey about wanting to go to business school. And if, for those of you that don't know Tim Ferriss, he's, really successful angel investor, author, entrepreneur, et cetera. And, in his podcast, he was like, yeah, I really wanted to go to business school, and was talking to all these people about it. And they would always ask me, well, why do you want to go? And he basically said, I want to learn how to invest. And I guess one of the people he got advice from was like, well, why don't you just take that money that you would spend at business school and just invest and learn if that's what you want to do? And his whole thing was like, he just took whatever the sum that he would have spent in business school and saw that as a sunk cost and like essentially tuition. And I thought that was a really interesting model to emulate. I was like, okay, great. Like, I have some of this equity. I can kind of use it in a different way. I'm going to take a budget, see that as essentially a sunk cost. So for whatever happens, whatever, I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to take it as tuition. So essentially I've done that every year for the past probably decade, where I've taken a budget, and I kind of use that to either buy stocks or kind of do different things. And that's actually how I got into crypto. One year I was kind of like, okay, like, part of my budget, I'm going to learn a new investment vehicle. And, a friend was kind of telling me about, crypto and, working in that and kind of investing in that. And so I took, a portion of my budget one year, and that's what I did. And, obviously it helped me learn, and now I'm working in it full time. And so it went really well. And so this year I'm actually taking my budget to angel invest for the first time. And so I think that's also been a really interesting evolution in terms of my investing strategy, because not only are you putting, your capital to work that could eventually grow, but you're actually helping companies and people, be successful in applying your own operating skills to help them grow. So it's been an all around really good experience to kind of take that approach and really seeing it as a learning opportunity and investing.
And I'd love to dive in a bit more of like the role you're playing in the wealth space, especially around empowerment and access. If you could share a little bit more on that.
Right now, when you think of the word wealth, it seems really inaccessible and something that is reserved for wealthy people, but not everybody. And it's funny because when I did the first version of Valora's mission, it actually included the word wealth. It was, I think the mission was like to democratize access to wealth for people all around the world. And I chose wealth because, I was like, well, it's more tangible than prosperity, right? Which is something that can be accessible to all, like in this, like, idealistic world. But it was interesting because, while it was a word that could perhaps communicate that, you had to unpack it. and it had like mixed emotions. And so actually we discussed it as a team at Valora. And it ended up being, pretty controversial topic, not in a negative way, but just one that had debate. And I actually, listened, and I changed the mission. And so, while wealth is not a negative thing, I think the term access is something that's really important. And so, we changed the mission to, Valora's mission is to unlock access to financial opportunity, because that's really the crux of what we're trying to do. And it's to be able to create and share value without, barriers. And that's really pointing to the fact that like not everyone has access. For people like us in the US, it's like we kind of have Venmo and all these other different tools to our disposal. But, some of the users that we've talked to, in the most extreme cases are saving money in a jar. And so, when you think about that, like they're saving money in a jar, but yet, they can access Instagram on their mobile phone. And so when you think about the connection between that, it's, well, why don't you just make money accessible through a mobile phone in an app you can download, in a way that you can just, store and send and top up, directly on your mobile phone, as you would with an email or a text message or a WhatsApp. And so that's really the vision that we have, is like, if you can text, you can crypto, and you'd be able to send money and text money to anyone in the world just through the convenience of your mobile phone. And anybody can do that. And so that's really what the vision for Valora is, and an unexpected one for crypto, because you probably think crypto's inaccessible today.
What do you think has been the most important thing you've learned in this process that you would want others to know, either in the crypto journey that you've been on, or what you're building now?
Yeah, I think to just get in the game and to try. I think especially for crypto, for investing, for any sort of, means of just investing and being able to get returns, like you have to put a little bit of risk. And so I think what I've learned just in my investing journey, and especially in crypto, it's like, if you just set aside, again, this goes back to the budget story that I was telling you about, where it's like I set aside a budget every year, and it's what you feel comfortable with, right? Because finances are so personal, that if you use it and you partition it off, and you kind of set it aside, and you see it as a way to learn, a way to invest, and a way to hopefully make money, you're kind of seeing it as a little bit more of a multidimensional opportunity, right? Versus like, like I'm putting something in, and if I don't get anything out of it, it was like worthless. It's like, actually not. Like, you're getting a lot of value and worth out of it if you see it as something where you can learn from it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know at the time, when I was just buying random cryptocurrencies a few years back, that it would be a career for me. And something that I would feel really passionate about, in terms of being able to, expand access to this, because it is as transformative as the internet. But like, had I never, if my friend never told me about it, but the thing is, it's like, if I had never actually taken the step to like do it and play around with it and fail a lot, right? then I would have just been sitting on the sidelines even to this day. And I think that when I speak to a lot of my friends, especially women, the biggest barrier is that first step of trying. And so my advice would really be like, figure out like what level of risk that you want to take, do like very tactical steps of, setting aside a budget, and just try, and like ask for help, talk to somebody, talk to one of your friends that's, fairly savvy, and have them walk you through it. I mean, you're not doing this alone. So yeah, I think it's a mixture of like, what you're personally comfortable with, but finding a community as well.
Is there a person or company in the space that really inspires you, or that you're following, that you would want us to know about?
In the crypto space, I love the SheFi community, and then She256. Like, I think, especially for the Eve community, those are two, if you want to get started with crypto, they have great one-on-one guides. They even have these like really amazing cohorts where, you can go with a community of women to learn about, everything from like, your first crypto wallet to like, taking out a flash loan on Aave. Like there's a lot of different things that you can learn on. So I would check them out on Twitter and also their websites. And then, there's a bunch of amazing people that you can follow there.
Any advice you'd give to somebody getting started?
Like I said, I think just try, right? I mean, I think especially with crypto, there's a lot of room for error. Some of the interfaces aren't as intuitive, and at least with a lot of the kind of the major blockchains, like you're still using like a public key, and you need to really pay attention to what you're doing when you're making transactions and things like that. So I think the advice would just be, again, just, find out the level of risk that you're comfortable with, but see it as a learning experience. And sometimes, when you learn, you don't always succeed. But, as long as you're paying attention and learning from it, it should be all right.
Amazing. So is there anything else we should know, or how can we follow you and the work you're doing at Valora?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter is a great place. Crypto Twitter is where it's at. So you can follow Valora at Valora app. And you can look at our website, valoraapp.com. We are hiring a ton. And so, always looking for great people. And yeah, I mean, if you're crypto curious and want to connect, you could also follow me. I'm Jackie, JACKIE _Bona, BONA at Twitter. So you can DM me and whatever. And I'm always happy to have a chat.
Thanks so much, Jackie, for the work you're doing, for chatting with us today, and we'll definitely be following along.
Great. Thank you so much.